they make their drive down to the landfill Bayview, which is Uena County, that they can do carry more. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. Anyway, the tonnage, they can transport more tonnage and less trips per day. So they've got that in operation now, and right now they're anticipating over the next 3 years transferring anywhere from 125,000 tons up to 200,000 tons, which again, that all helps preserve the life of the landfill itself. The last thing that I wanted to mention was the Amoresco. What that is up there at the landfill, you know, they try to capture the gases, and they had put it out to bid, and Amoresco was the one that was already doing the capturing of the gas up there, but they awarded it to Amoresco, and so they're in the process now of getting all of their permitting to actually build a facility on site, because before all of that gas was going over to Hill Air Force Base and helping them, but well, not the gas, excuse me, that was different, but anyway, that was the steam, but Amoresco will end up building a facility on site, and then they'll turn around and sell that gas back into the pipeline, and we'll sell it that way, so that will generate a revenue stream for them. Other than that, that was it on that meeting, and haven't had any others. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn the time over to you guys for any council reports. Anybody? I know we'll be hearing from Brent here in a minute, but
yeah, it's a spring, so
yeah, I know it's kind of low everywhere.
Okay. Can be brief. We had a Layton CTC recruitment social earlier this week
On Monday. Where did it get moved to?
Yeah, it was downstairs. Yeah,
I thought it was in the pavilion, because I went.
We had a contingency plan in case the weather was bad, because it's May. So yeah, we met downstairs in the that lunchroom behind there.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a nice turnout. We had some, I want to call a reactivation of folks who may have started a long time ago and fell off for whatever reasons, and so there were some new folks that were there. It was nice. And our new coordinator, Tiffany, she was there and kind of did like an analysis of things, and it was a good meeting. So I'm glad that folks participated, and sorry that you didn't get the memo about it being a moved location. And the only other thing I wanted to bring up was, I know last time I brought up something about the Layton High Marching Band. They had sent an email, and I did follow up. The email was actually sent to all of us. They CC'd all of us a little while back, but just something that we probably need to discuss, what the origin of the drumline was, and since they are asking for some assistance, I think that's something we should probably bring up.
So I actually sent a response back saying, hey, can you give us an idea of what are the costs, what are you looking at, just so we kind of had an idea. I didn't get a response back, did you?
I haven't got any new response. I know Dave had some history about the drumline, and I thought it'd be nice if the whole council knew about that, just because the way the email was categorized was as though the city purchased the drumline for the high school, and I didn't know anything about it. So when I talked to Dave a few weeks back and he mentioned the history of that, I think that was important to know. So maybe, Dave, you want to speak to that just a bit?
Briefly.
I mean, I can be brief. I don't know if you can.
I can. The drumline, they came to the city. It was an organization. It wasn't Layton High. It was just an organization that wanted to create a drumline and asked the city for if they could help, and we bought the drums. Now, after buying the drums, they went out and what's the word? They got money.
Sponsorship?
They went out and raised money and actually paid the drums off. Okay. And then it was still our drum. They were still ours. But they did that because they thought that was what they should do. And then the drum line kind of fell apart. The people that organized it, one of them got transferred. And anyway, it was also a color guard. There was two. And so we put all the drums and the flags in the armory. And they sat there for maybe 2 years. And then Layton High had a drum line, but their drums were terrible. And so when we found that out, we went over and said, well, would you like these drums? Because they're just sitting there doing nothing. And they said, yeah. So we gave it to them, and then they kind of forgot who gave them to them. And I'd remind them periodically and that, but that's in a nutshell. So, and we used to, when the drum line was active, the original one, they would always participate in the 4th of July. They would do like, maybe it was the hometown heroes, they would come on, you know. Anyway, the city could use them to do things, and that was originally, when we gave the drums to the high school, that was the comment.
Trade-off.
You know, that was the trade-off, yeah. That they would be in our parade, that they would, if we needed things, they could do, and things like that. So that's kind of how it went, and then it, I mean, I can't put a timeline, it's been a long time. And then, so, as far as, like I say, we gave them those drums. I not gave them, I shouldn't say loaned them to them, but the drum line actually paid it off. I mean, and for what we originally bought them, and they paid it back. So I don't know how you look at that. It was just, you know, it's a good thing. It was nice, but yeah. So as far as, I mean, we can do whatever we want, I guess. You know, I mean, but that's the history of it. Yeah.
So yeah, after I saw the email, I'm sure the rest of us may have seen it or whatever. Dave gave that history because I just didn't know, and I thought, well, that's a school district. That's, you know, so why we pay for them to have a drum line didn't make sense to me. But hearing the history that Dave brought, we didn't buy them drums. But they are now asking for us to buy them drums. So anyway, I didn't know that you had sent a response to them yet, but, you know.
Yeah, I
they
did.
come back
I did
with more
shortly after,
information.
like the next day when we got the email, and then it's been 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, let's go ahead and move on then. We've got an update here regarding the Hill Air Force Base groundwater contamination, and I know that this is an ongoing topic, but it's good to always get an update on where we sit. So I think Jared.
Yep.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't. I was going to say, I know you're going to be presenting, so.
Yeah, my name's Jared Case. I'm a project manager up at Hill, part of the cleanup program up there. And I am the manager for this PFAS investigation. And this is an update, and I'll describe what PFAS is here in a minute. Next slide. PFAS are known as short for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. So it's much easier to say PFAS. It's a class of synthetic chemicals, over 9,000. Sometimes you see people think there's 12,000, but it's a lot of chemicals, all man-made and used in a variety of products that we all use. There's a graphic here that shows a lot of the things that these are in. Non-stick pans is one, Teflon is a big one. Stain-resistant carpet, anything you put on your clothes for water repellent kind of thing. Also used in food packaging, used to be coat the bottom of a pizza box so that the oil doesn't go through. Wrap your burger in it, that kind of thing. So very useful chemicals. They were invented about in the 1940s when Teflon first came about. And it's considered an emerging contaminant, and that basically just means it's starting to come to light that it's a potential risk over the last decade, 20 years probably. The Air Force used AFFF in firefighting foam. That's just one of the constituents that's in it. And so you can see, like filling up a hangar with it or putting out fires, aircraft crashes and things like that. It's for fuel fires. It's very effective. So we've done that over the years, and that is a source of PFAS to the environment. And it's actually shown in that little thing up there at the top, says firefighting foam. It doesn't actually come in those little canisters, but that's what the Air Force primarily used. We use all these other things as well, just like all of us do. So, but we're right now investigating the AFFF releases, and we no longer use AFFF. We've replaced all the systems on the base, and the Air Force has been doing that. We use either water or fluorine-free foam now, so it's no longer in use. Okay, next slide. So in April of 2024, the EPA finalized or published a final rule on developing a drinking water standard for PFAS chemicals. The primary ones are PFOA and PFOS. I decided not to put the chemical names up here because they are really hard to pronounce. But they always start with, usually always with the PF, except for like this one. But under the Safe Drinking Water Act, these are the MCLs for 5 of the chemicals, and then a mixture of 2 or more. There's a hazard of these ones specifically, these 4. So you could have lower amounts of each. Of a couple of these, they may add up to be more than that. So it's kind of a mixture. What's called a hazard index. So if you remember back to the previous slide, over 9,000 chemicals, this is what we have MCLs for. 5 of them, plus this mixture. So not very many. But that's part of the emerging process too. As we learn more information, there's likely to be more information. Another aspect of this that's emerging is even this week. I believe there was an announcement from EPA that they were going to look at these again. And I believe they were saying that they will likely keep these the same, but they may change these other ones. That's part of the new administration's plans. So we don't have anything official, so we go by this. And that's what we're trying to clean up to and manage to right now. Just to give you some perspective, it's shown here in yellow. These are in parts per trillion, so 4 parts per trillion for PFOA. 1 part per trillion is 1 drop of water in 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So, not a lot. It's another way of looking at that is 30 seconds in a million years. So very tiny. Another contaminant you may be familiar with from the base, TCE or trichloroethylene, it's the chlorinated solvent. It has a limit in parts per trillion of 5,000. So these are much lower than that. So, and because of all of those sources in the environment and all of us, we find it typically if we test for it because we're looking at such small amounts for it. Okay, next slide. So the Air Force has developed a plan of action for these chemicals. This is what's outlined here. The real important thing is number 1 bullet up there, which is that there are no people drinking water with PFOA or PFOS from the Air Force around hill or on hill. One reason for that is the fact that people don't generally drink the groundwater because of other reasons, water quality-wise. And we get water from deeper if we have groundwater wells, deeper aquifers, separated from that contamination by layers of clay. So that's good news. But this plan of action is what we're following in all installations. So that's why I included it here as just kind of the Air Force program. The rule, the MCL rule, provides 5 years for purveyors of water. So anybody that produces drinking water publicly has 5 years to implement these MCLs. And that's because they have to change their processes for treatment, or they may need to. The DoD is working to implement the standards for anybody drinking water. We don't have any at Hill, but they do at other installations where people use private wells and their wells are impacted. We're in there, we put systems in their homes basically to fix that problem if it's coming from the Air Force. The MCLs can be used as cleanup standards or as a risk trigger level. Even though people aren't drinking it, we may use it as a standard for action in other ways. And we are doing that right now for private drinking water wells at other locations, but not in other. So as part of the process that we've been going through, we've been reviewing data, sampling results. We've also collected more sampling results for the base. And I know local communities also collect drinking water samples as part of their community conference reports. We are also expanding our existing cleanup investigations. That's what I'm involved with. And we also will be trying to assess background levels because of all the other sources. There may be some background levels in soil and in groundwater that we need to figure out, where it's coming from, not necessarily from us. I mean, airports, for example, use these things. Triple F, they would have used them. That's another source, but also other landfills and different things like that that have all the products that we use in them. Then they will be providing drinking water wherever there are impacted residents, and that's on a prioritized basis, which is kind of outlined here. We use kind of 3 times the MCL as our standard. If you're above that, we do those first because they're the more contaminated areas, and then we move to the other one. But again, here at Hill, we don't have anybody that we're aware of that is drinking water from people or PFAS. Next. This is the CERCLA process. That is short for Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act, which is also known as the Superfund program. The Hill Air Force Base is a Superfund site. And we have already completed the first 3 phases. So it's doing, basically discovering there's a potential problem, and then looking, do we actually have a problem? And then doing some sampling to confirm we have a problem. We've done all of that. We are now in a remedial investigation. And in this phase, the primary purpose is to determine the nature and extent. So what's contaminated and where is it? That's basically doing soil samples, groundwater samples, lots of different things. Figure out where is it in the environment. The next step in that process will be a baseline risk assessment, where we look at, okay, are people being exposed to this chemical, and is it a problem? And so that identifies the risks that we then need to look at, potentially for treatment. And we follow the process. So this can be a pretty lengthy process. And one thing I want to point out is that we don't wait till the end of the process if we find that there's a problem to take action. So that's called an interim action because we're doing it before the end. And an example of that is if we found it in somebody's drinking water, we would work to fix that problem right away, not wait a few years until we got to the end of this process. So that's a good thing. But hopefully we continue to not find any problems with people's drinking water, and we'll be following this process as we go. Next. This is a map showing all of the areas of investigation on Hill Air Force Base. So you can see the base highlighted there in black is the border with all of the towns around there, Layton being down here. This is Hillfield Road and Antelope right there. What you'll see on this map are the highlighted in red are the areas of AFFF use or release. So among those are hangars that we may have had releases from, places where we've had crashes and we've had to put out fires, or fire training areas, or just training areas in general. They have to go test the trucks and those kind of things back in the day when they would use them to make sure they produce the right kind of foam. A couple of other things that we have on here are our 2 stormwater ponds. That's because they receive runoff to those ponds. So those are the 16 areas that we're actively investigating as part of this current investigation. The areas shown in green on here, you can see here in Layton as well as other areas. Those are what we call the legacy contaminants. So those are the chlorinated solvents, fuels, other things that we've been investigating for over 30 years. Those are the groundwater plumes for those. And then in light blue, you'll see the PFAS contaminants in groundwater so far. And next slide, we'll zoom in on this place here. So you can see this is Antelope and Hillfield Road, showing that area of PFAS contamination. One thing that's important to note is that the line is dashed because we don't know the extent exactly. And that's what we're working on right now. We're putting in wells to out beyond here to make sure that we've found all of it in groundwater. And so it may change over time, which is why we put a dashed line. One important thing you'll also see is in yellow, it's maybe hard for you guys to see these kind of 2 lobes. That was what we identified as PFAS contamination in 2022 as part of our original first round of sampling. We've now collected put in more wells and more samples and found that it's larger. So it's not necessarily that it's grown larger in that time, but we have more information. It's better defined. But it is also quite a bit larger than the green. So the green is also contamination from the base. But one of the reasons that we see it bigger is that PFAS compounds are very slow to degrade or actually resistant to degradation in the environment. And they're very mobile. They like to move easily with water, where other contaminants kind of stick to the soil so they get slowed down. So that's one reason why these chemicals are referred to as forever chemicals, if you've heard those in the media, because they'll be around a long time. And one thing that makes them great as chemical products also makes them very persistent in the environment, which is not good for us because we actually, most of us have it in our blood. When they tested people, it's like 98% or something like that, because of all the products that we use. So that's why it's bigger, is that it travels a little easier in the water. I think that's it. Go to the next slide. This is the contact information for me and also our public affairs. We're always open to anybody having questions about anything. We're happy to help in any way that we can. We also have representatives on our RAB, Restoration Advisory Board, from Layton community as well as the city that are active, which is nice. And we meet quarterly typically to provide updates on what we're doing, as well as all the other programs that we're in. And then I believe we also, if we haven't already, we will share the extent of groundwater contamination map, those shape files. We usually provide those to you guys on an annual basis. We'll just confirm that we've already done that, and if we haven't, we will do those so you can have those for your use as well. Any questions?
Yeah. Can you go back to the plumes?
Yeah.
Yeah. The green, that's going, the green one's going over Main Street, I think.
Right, this is Bayview Park right here.
Bayview.
Yeah, right.
And is that as far as you've tested?
No, that one's been defined.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was defined 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've tested well enough to know where that is.
Oh, okay. So
It's not dashed. Like
Oh,
this one
okay.
has a dashed border.
Oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's the difference.
So that's as far as it's gone
Uh-huh.
right now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't believe it's growing. So sometimes the plumes are expanding.
Oh, yeah, well, that was-
And I don't think we have a treatment system in here too.
Oh,
To pull
I
the
didn't
water.
know that.
Yeah, we have wells that pump the water out right
Oh,
there.
okay.
And part of that reason was to prevent it from going any farther. We also have wells up at the base boundary
Yeah,
that cut
okay.
it off up there too. And those things will come later with the PFAS. Once we figure out where it is, then we'll look at, okay, what can we do to clean it up? That kind of thing. That's all developed as part of that process, eventually kind of codified in a record of decision
Yeah.
that we signed with EPA and the state of Utah.
Oh,
Any
that's
other
good.
questions?
Don't drink the water.
Luckily or not, there's a lot of other things in shallow groundwater you may not want to drink, like fertilizer and everything else.
Hey, there's no fluoride in it now, so, we're good.
This is the shallow groundwater too, as I had mentioned. This is the first water, if
Yeah.
you were to dig a hole. to get to.
That was a good update. We appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
They're very good.
Thank you.
And for staying on top of it.
Yeah. And also, sorry, we have a handout if you wanted them. They're all these slides. They're the same.
It's nice.
Oh, yeah, I would like one.
Sorry,
It's
this is
the
mine.
same.
Okay, I
What
get
was
it.
supposed to work.
Oh, I want
No,
yours.
sometimes they're funner in
Thank you.
hard copy.
You'll find the things I missed that I should have said.
Yeah.
My bad. Thank you so much. Go, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you again. We appreciate it. Okay, let's go ahead and move on then to our ramp report. This is always a fun one each year, and the ramp chair is going to be presenting Mr. Cameron Cross.
That's okay.
Sure. Yep. And I also want to acknowledge the fact that we have several members of the ramp commission here, so thank you guys for attending. We appreciate all your work you do.
Some of them have ties on.
No, thank you so much for having me. So I'm Cameron Cross, Ramp Commission Chair. And this year, I think I say this each time, and Bridget said it for us last time, is it just keeps growing. And I'm sure you can see it, you've all seen the reports. But we've had more requests come to us every year with new ideas, bigger ideas, and just a lot to review. And so this year was just like every other year, it was extensive. It was a lot of review and a lot of back and forth and a great gathering of the ramp commission with diversity of thought to recommend what you see on the screen here. So I'll just kind of give a quick summary and then really ask for questions so that we can answer. And it's awesome that I have a lot of my teammates here in the room so we can answer questions maybe a little more specifically on some of the ones that were closer to a split vote. But with our major projects, the major grant requests was 67% or almost 68% of the funding at 1.42 million in total, and those are all Parks and Recs. And then for our tier 1, it's 28.6% at just about 600,000. And then our final, those ones on the bottom, the tier 2s, totaled out about 3.5% at 74,700. So, any questions? I can kind of go through some of these if you want, but do we have any specific questions on any of these recommendations?
I had a couple.
Yeah.
Thanks for all of this work. I feel like this is probably the largest packet we've received from RAMP ever.
Yeah, thank you, Kimberly.
Thanks to Kimberly and the
Casey.
commission.
Yeah.
Because that was a lot of work. My question is around the partial amounts, and some of them, it was identified very directly, very clearly, like, oh, we didn't include, cost of a director or whatever it might have been, but there were some where it wasn't on there. So just wondered when there were partial amounts where it wasn't clearly identified, what was the decision? How did you come up with what the partial amount would be?
That's a great question. And one of those specifically was when we were looking at this, we weren't sure we were going to have enough funding just in general. And so we started talking, what would we give, what would we take, and representatives from OPA were here today. And on one of them, they were like, well, we could give up this one on here. So we could not do this part. And so as we came together, that decision, that made more sense. So it was some just give and take of, it just made sense to draw a line in the sand a little bit and fund the important parts of projects with the grant requester in the room. So that's, I can't think of one that we didn't do that to, because it happened also with Parks and Rec, where we had another one. I think that's the only other one that didn't have an explanation, and that was the case as well. They just said, this is something we could dial back and find a different way to fund, so let's give that so we have more money elsewhere.
Awesome. My other question is about the matched amounts, because I noticed a lot of programs had matched amounts, and just was wondering if you knew where those came from or what the extent of those matched amounts were. I mean, some had a lot of matched amounts, some had a little, but I mean, it was nice to see that, but just wanted some more information about the matched amounts.
Absolutely. So one of the things that came from the council was a better way to get these applications in and to better understand it. And with that, we did some training and talked to that specifically. How do you document what you're going to match? And hours, volunteer hours, is probably the biggest one that we've seen a huge increase in. And that's where most of our match hours come from. It's they're actually documenting, they're going back to past events, how many people participated, helped us, gave their time, and then added that up and put that as the matched amounts.
So they're assigning like a dollar figure to that time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it helped us too, right, to evaluate and to really see, okay, you are giving as part of this, and you're putting in the effort and putting in the investment. So we want to come and make that difference and make it a project that we can fund.
Well, I mean, I had a couple other questions too, but I just wanted to say that I think the shift in the application process and having the review period, I mean, I think it's absolutely met, what the commission wanted and also what the council wanted, because there's so many different types of applicants that were on at least this review, lots of different projects, lots of different programs. So I think that that's really great for the city and for the citizens.
Absolutely, and that's our goal, to continue to just make it better. We're not stopping, right? We've already through this year seen some things that need improvement, things that we need to change, and feedback. And we've had so much more community involvement this year than we ever have. And I think it's because of that, and it's because of the process that we put out there and the trainings now we're having people come to us and give us more open ideas, and we're going to keep changing it and making it better.
Well, I think it's great. I did have one question about the elementary school tour, the fest, I think that DAC does. And I'm only asking about this because I know that this year, Plan B put on a production of Elemental, which is a program that, the definition is in the request packet, just as an example of what they do for that school tour. When I requested that to be at one of our schools, I did that because I went to the website and saw that these free school tours that they do across the state, they were only accepting appointments for Davis County schools. And so my question around that is, what happens when the funds are not used for our city? Like, if we're allocating X number of dollars and the idea is for those dollars to be utilized in our schools for that particular program, but our schools, some of them maybe didn't want to have that or didn't have time for it to be shown, what happens with that funding? Does it then go to other schools in Davis County? Does it come back to the commission?
Yeah, so every one of these, it's a reimbursement as part of the grant. And so if it doesn't follow the application and doesn't meet the intent, then it just wouldn't be reimbursed for that. However, we're also really understanding we'll bring things to the council if step changes. So if there was a change that still greatly affected Layton City, we'll review it as a ramp commission, kind of get some ideas, some back and forth, and then bring it to the council and say, hey, they couldn't do it here, it wouldn't meet here, but they're proposing this option. We think it'd be great because it still benefits. Could this be something that we still fund? And we would go that route if it didn't follow the original intent of the grant.
But I
Yeah, no,
think
great questions.
to help codify that is the fact that all of these grant applications have to come back with a proof of performance and all the documentation on these, that they do what they say in order to get the funding. So,
Correct.
and you guys are part of that check and balance system. on this,
Yeah,
so.
and the full-time staff of Parks and Rec, Kimberly specifically, gotta throw credit there, because these packets, when they come back, are extensive. And the trainings that we've just started to do to try to make that process a little better, it's helping, but it's a lot. It's receipts, it's documentation of those matched funds, which include those hours, so sign-in logs of volunteers and tracking all that down and making sure it's all buttoned up really nice so that we're able to track it and truly say they did what they did.
You've got down here 2,100,000 was asked for, right? How much came in for this year from the taxing? Yeah.
I don't have that right in front of me, it's something like 2.3.
2.3, I believe, Dave. I apologize.
So
Somewhere
you-
close to that.
All that does is tell me 2.3, then you've got a couple $100,000 more, left over. I don't know if that's the term.
Yeah, we typically always, we take a recommendation from the city on what that fund really should be, what our line in the sand should be. And this year we actually went a little bit above that recommendation. It was right around 2 million, maybe a little less. And we looked at it and looked at how much we've needed that extra fund in past years and how much we've needed to roll over.
Yeah.
And since we had the additional, or so many more requests this year, we went a little higher than we typically do and didn't want to leave as much in there for things that may come up.
Okay, so you have a contingency fund for whatever. If you don't use that, it just rolls over to the
the
following
next year.
year.
Correct.
Right.
But this being the end of,
Yeah.
we're in a voting year for ramp coming
Right.
up this fall.
Well, yeah.
That also played into it, right? We
Sure.
weren't going to have a huge fund left
Yeah,
over,
yeah.
and,
Right.
for that just in case.
And my other question is, and this, what can the council do to help you? I really, you guys are an entity to yourself in a sense, and that's great. You do a fantastic job, but is there anything we can do to help, or just stay out of your hair?
No, so We have Clint in there often.
Yeah.
He gives up so much of his time to come and be with the commission, and we pick his brain, you know.
Okay.
You're with the council, how does this work? And that's our biggest thing. We're doing this to recommend to you, and we don't want to give you a packet that you're going to be like, why'd you recommend this, right?
Well,
It's our goal to have the community feel and bring in different groups from the community and have that diversity of thought, but we also want to align with the will of the council and what you would really think, so we're trying to act for you. And so that's the biggest thing is, you know, feed that insight through Clint right now and help us understand what you want and come to us. So Bettina came to us and said, like, we need more here. It was great because it was insight and it was instruction, and we're like, hey, like, point and shoot, we'll go and do it. So if you want to see something different, please come to us and help us do that differently. I think, you know, we're really hoping this gets, you know, continues with this election year. And with that, work with us to make some improvements. We've got some ideas. We've seen some smaller organizations where in our bylaws say that if you don't have 3 years of records, you can't be funded. We have some amazing startups that are asking for $1,000 to do something really cool, and we just have to tell them no. And personally, I like to see that. We've talked about that as a council. There's a couple other, or as a commission, we've had other things come through that we'd like to see maybe a difference, especially at smaller funds, to allow for the benefit of the city to benefit in those categories of ramp.
Okay, so all we
That's
have
good
to
to
do is just beat up Clint.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
fine with that.
Glad you heard that. Yeah.
Still.
Well,
Okay.
along those lines, I would like to see maybe a tier 3, and that could be like what you're mentioning, you know. I'm only one person on the council, but I think it would be great for the commission and also applicants as they come in and provide, you know, feedback on the process, that all of that is taken into consideration in looking at, you know, modifying the bylaws in whatever way is necessary as the city grows and as there are new, you know, organizations, new requests.
Come up
like-
with new ideas. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, yeah,
I think that's
it's got to
great.
grow.
And I appreciate the commission, but also Parks and Rec, and every time I ask a question, Dave and Kimberly are always there to respond. Something as simple as there was an applicant who had asked me about, you know, where can I find the bylaws for the commission? Because like planning commissions are online, but the rent commissions just hadn't been posted. And so I asked, and it was up within like a day or two. And so just things like that, I think being open to feedback and communication, I think that is huge. And I think that's what's made the biggest difference with all of these different types of programs. So again, thanks to you and thanks to the commissioners for all the work that you guys put into trying to help, you know, the city really be the whole city and not just a few. You know. So thanks.
Oh, thank you. And big shout out to IT. Honestly,
for
like
sure.
with all this, you say that with posts and stuff on there, but the application and the site that we've changed that Kimberly spearheaded, but then IT took and ran with it and made a great product. I can't even tell you how awesome that experience was, at least seeing it from my end.
No, that's a good report. I'm excited about it. I mean, it's hard to believe 10 years have gone by. But the good news is just to see how this has evolved over that 10 years. So the simple modifications that we can continue to make, I think, is what's going to make this program even more valuable. And I can't stress enough, we need everybody out there chirping this year on the importance of this program and keeping it going. Yep, 1% is what we're after. So anyway, thank you, Cameron. Thank you to the
Just
commission as well.
one more,
Oh,
please.
sorry.
Dave, probably to you, over the 10 years, I know it's grown, but is it growing or does it kind of, because I know it's all on taxes, so.
The funding is growing each year. We've seen an increase, a steady increase in the amount of funding we receive.
Okay.
Thankfully, as the council built this 10 years ago, we have the luxury of the money that we spend, that we dedicate or we recommend to you this year, is money in the bank. We're not
No,
trying to
I
project.
understand
So
that.
it's just a really good system.
You always, everything you do is money in the bank, right? Yeah, it's not like we're saying, oh, we're gonna bring this in, so let's spend it. No, I get that, yeah. I just wondered if it, you know, was increasing as obviously the city grows in a sense, but also I just wondered if maybe it might have, you know, 1 year it's good and next year it's a little less.
To give you an idea, I think that first year it was $1 million is what we had to work with. So
Yeah.
that tells you right there, we've doubled
Yeah.
in 10 years. So that's how valuable this program has been. And the fact that it's collected from a lot of
Okay.
visitors.
Yeah, great
So,
program.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
guys very much.
Thanks, Cameron.
Okay, let's continue to move the meeting along. Our next item of business is an approval of conveyance of 2 significant parcels, and Lon gets to present this one.
I do, I'm excited. Actually, I am, because things are still continuing to occur up in Eastgate. If you go up there right now, as Paul Bauer put it, you can see a floor that looks like a runway, an airport runway. I mean, it's
That big.
many hundreds of feet long. It's taken all week to pour a third of it. And so it's pretty neat to see. It's at least twice the size of the building number 2 that was just completed. So. As the council's aware, the city owns 2 parcels of real property on the north end of Fairfield Road. Those 2 parcels are identified on the screen. And the city purchased those properties through an option agreement that was signed in 2016 with Wasatch Integrated Waste Management. Really the main reasons for that purchase and the option agreement in the beginning was to plan the extension and construction of Fairfield Road to ensure an aerospace and defense employer would locate there and to provide family sustaining career options. The conveyance of this property will provide all 3 of those things. The reason that the city may want to convey this property to the redevelopment agency is because the redevelopment agency can choose who the property gets sold to. Otherwise, through state and local requirements, we would have to put that property up for auction and would not be able to guarantee those things would occur. This process requires us to provide notice, which we have. It requires an agreement per auto code, which I've included, and it requires a public hearing, which will occur today. We provided notice, and we recommend that the council approve this request for resolution 2505, and I'm happy to answer your questions. So, I mean, obviously not in this meeting, but.
Okay. You guys good?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, very good. Thanks.
Well, I do have one question. Is there, I know we're doing the public hearing tonight this will be on the agenda tonight, but what is the time frame by which that has to be completed before the property has to follow those other state requirements that you mentioned? So you said if it's transferred to the RDA, then we can put some parameters around it based on what the RDA has to offer. But if we don't do that, then the state would require us to put it up for auction. What's the time frame that you would have to put it to the RDA before the state would just say, yeah, so we got to do this? Does that make sense?
I'm not aware.
If I understand what you're saying, once it's transferred, there is no time frame.
No, I'm saying, what is the time frame between us acquiring it and having to transfer it to the RDA?
I don't think
before
there's
the
a time
state
frame on
would
that. There's
say-
not a time frame for that right now.
All right.
There's a time frame for notice, which
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. The next steps after this is the redevelopment agency has to accept the conveyance, and then there will be an option agreement signed with whomever we wish to sell it to, and you would go through a typical real estate exchange agreement. Purchase agreement.
is tough.
There are a couple of tough ones on there.
That's secretary.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was very good. Okay, let's go ahead and go on to item number 6, which is a general plan amendment regarding our station area plan, and I believe Whitney's going to help present on this one, right?
Right.
So Whitney, welcome. This was fun to have you present to us tonight.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you all. I'm Whitney Black. I've worked for the city for about a year as a planner, so it's nice to come to city council and see all of you. So for a little over a year, we have been working with Wasatch Front Regional Council and FFK Architects. on a station area plan for Layton City. In 2022, the state legislature passed House Bill 462, which requires cities with a fixed driveway public transit station to develop and adopt a station area plan. Because we have a front runner station, we are one of the cities required to fill this requirement. A station area plan is a planning document that establishes the vision for future growth and development for a station area. A station area is defined as 1/2 mile radius from the center of the front runner platform. So this map shows you the 1/2 mile radius, that's the dotted line, and then all of the darker parcels are considered the station area. The purpose of the station area plan is to increase the availability and affordability of housing, promote sustainable environmental conditions, enhance access to opportunities, and increase transportation choices and connections. For the past 20 years or so, the city has already been doing what is now required in state law. So we've already done the work, we've kind of just consolidated it all into one plan. Some of those plans that we've done in the past that are now the foundation of the station area plan include the downtown plan, the Envision Layton, which was the general plan envisioning process, the Layton Transportation Master Plan, the Layton Forward General Plan, and the Layton Active Transportation Plan. So all those plans are incorporated into the station area plan. We didn't really change anything. We've just kind of incorporated those principles into one document. With any planning process, we do some community engagement and outreach. We went to the station and set up a little booth to talk to the people that use the front runner station and explain to them what was going on, what this plan would entail, things like that. We set up a website that explained kind of the 101 about a station area plan, why we were doing one, what it would cover, how it would interact with the general plan, things like that. We set up a booth at Layton Fest and talked to some of the residents there, and then we've been working with UDOT, UTA, Hill, and a couple other key stakeholders as we've gone through this process to make sure that we're compliant with all of their standards as well. One of the requirements from state law is that we need to identify development constraints and development opportunities within the station area. Some of the constraints are just the physical barriers within the area. I-15, some natural creeks, the railroad tracks, major roadways like Layton Parkway, Main Street, things like that. There's not a lot of vacant land within the station area, and what is left has some unique configurations, so development could be challenging within those areas. So those are some of the constraints. Some of the opportunities are just improved infrastructure. One example is a pedestrian bridge leading from the station over to the west side of the railroad tracks. There's some infill opportunities. There could be an opportunity for some shared parking, maybe even a parking structure with UTA. And then some small scale opportunities for individual property owners are ADUs, which are allowed all over the city on single family residential lots, and maybe some small subdivisions of larger lots. So this map shows you the areas of constraints and the areas of opportunities. One thing I do want to point out is all of that green area, those are the single family residential neighborhoods. We don't anticipate any change happening in those areas, so they've been identified as areas of stability. We've identified 6 goals for this plan. The first 4 are the objectives outlined in state law, and the last 2 are just to incorporate the plan that we already have, specifically the Layton Active Transportation Plan and the Layton Forward General Plan. To achieve those 6 goals, we have identified 8 specific strategies, and for each of those strategies, we have identified a list of suggested strategies. We specifically identified 10 strategies we want to work towards for the next 5 years, and 10 strategies for the next 10 years. So those are our top 10 for the next 5 years and the next 10 years. A very small portion of Layton City is within the Clearfield Station area, so we do have to make a plan for this area or identify it as impracticable.
I like that it's in green.
Well, that's Clearfield. We're yellow.
Yeah. No, I'm saying green for Clearfield.
Oh, yeah. So the area is really small and it's already developed, so staff is recommending that we deem this area as impracticable for a station area, and that is one of the resolutions on your agenda. So just again, I'd like to emphasize that we've done all of this work in the last 20 years. We've been doing this for a long time. Layton has been planning for the downtown area, and this is just another opportunity for us to consolidate the plans that we've already done. So, are there any questions?
Do we have any different zoning rules for ADUs inside the station area plan?
We don't. No, they're the same throughout the whole city.
Any other?
I don't have a question, and I may say this out there, but as I was going through the packet, this plan, very well done. Like, it looks amazing. I know that we get a lot of things before us, and I know you did work with some partners here, but there are times when we have to like pay for some outside agency to help us do a plan, and they do it. This looks just as good, if not better, than any of the things that they've done. So kudos to your department for
Thank you.
the hard work.
Yeah, thank you.
If I may, kudos to Whitney for sure. She's done a lot of work. We're really grateful to have her.
Well, kudos
Thank
to
you.
you, Whitney.
Thank you.
Thank you. It looks great.
I love it.
Especially the color coding.
We got that for sure.
Okay, well, thank you. That's a good one, good report there. Okay, that was item number 6 on the agenda. Our last item is closed door session. So if you don't have any other questions or concerns right now, then I'll look for a motion to go into a closed door meeting.
I move that we go into closed door.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate Welcome everyone out to our Layton City Council meeting this evening. The date is May 15th and our start time is 7:06. Once again, thank you for being patient with us. We do have several items of business that we always have to take care of, and it seems like we run out of time every time. But for now, I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting to order, and in doing so, I'll turn the time over to our council to be able to conduct our opening exercise, for lack of a better term, so the prayer and pledge. And like I said, we take turns each month. So, Councilmember Thomas.
Yeah. I'll give an opening prayer, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful to be gathered here this evening. We pray that as we discuss topics of the city, that we may do so with a firm mind and an understanding that the outcome should be the best that it can be. We're thankful for the privilege of being able to sit down in meetings and have the opportunity to express our views. We're thankful that the statutes that we have within this city allow us to do things which better the city. And we pray that we may always look and have that in our mind as we come to conclusions. Thankful for this great land, this great country, and the freedoms that we have within it, and pray that we may always retain that which we can. And this we pray for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
You want to stand? We'll get it started. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, Councilman Thomas, for conducting that for me. In addition to that, I want to acknowledge that we have on the stand here our Youth Council Mayor, which is Catherine Houghton. And I know that Catherine was part of a group that organized a fun day of service for the youth. So, Catherine, do you mind just telling these folks a little bit about it and what your experience was?
We gathered many of the youth here in Layton City for the International Youth Day of Service this past Saturday. And we had many different service activities that were available, including creating packaged meals for people in need, creating toys for children who need them, organizing and cleaning books for people in need, and cleaning up our lovely parks here in Layton City. It was a wonderful experience and a great way to help our youth get more involved in our city here.
Yeah, that was quite impressive. We had anticipated, about 160, and in reality, we had over 330 kids show up. So, I mean, my hat's off to the youth. Thank you, Youth Mayor, there for organizing that and really making it a great effort. And that was also on behalf of the Layton City Rotary. Okay. Council, we need to take care of some minutes here, which we have 2 sets of minutes. If anybody has any corrections, please make it known. Otherwise, I'd look for a motion to adopt them as written.
Mayor, I make a motion, or I move that we adopt the minutes of the Layton City Council work meeting February 6th, 2025, and the minutes of the Layton City Council meeting February 20th, 2025.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we adopt the minutes as written. And all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We'll now go on to our municipal announcements. So any council members that might have some announcements there, would you mind sharing them at this time?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things from the Parks and Recreation Department and the Parks and Recreation Commission. First of all, this upcoming Monday, May 19th, exciting event happened, ribbon cutting for a underpass going under 89 up on the east side of our city, connecting a lot of great trails. for your walkability, rideability, and I'll add rollability. So we're going to meet at 4 p.m. at 2700 North Hobbs Creek Drive, and there'll be a fun walk or bike ride with the mayor beforehand, and just come out and celebrate this. A lot of work's gone into this with a lot of partners in the city, a lot of planning with the Parks and Rec department. I'm looking at Joe Allen back there, and as well as partners like UDOT making this helping make this possible. So again, Monday, 4 p.m. this upcoming Monday. Additionally, coming up is Liberty Days, 4th of July celebration. And in preparation for that, the city is actively accepting applications for parade floats. You can get a fee waiver if you get on the ball right away, and you can receive a grant up to $300 for building your float as well. So we always look forward to the parade here in Layton. One of the great things we do to celebrate the 4th of July. Additionally, with Liberty Days, we like to honor a handful of hometown heroes here in Layton, citizens that go above and beyond just living in the city. And if you want to recommend somebody to be honored as a hometown hero, you can go to the Layton City website and go to the Parks and Rec page and look for the Liberty Days tab, and you'll find a place where you can nominate hometown heroes. So thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, very good announcement. And I want to also give a shout out. May, the reason why we're doing also including the bike ride on Monday is May is the official bike month. So anybody who's a biker, which I know Councilmember Morris is an avid biker, but I want to encourage everyone to get out and ride your bikes, in particular this month. Cyclists. Yes, there is a difference. Biker has a motor. You have pedal power. Okay. Any other announcements here, Council? Very good. Then we'll go ahead then and move on to a fun portion of our meeting, which I think all of us enjoy this, especially when we get to acknowledge people that are willing to donate a lot of time to the city and be prepared. So with that, I'd like to call up Chief Kevin Ward and Natalie. There you are, back there in the back. And this is an opportunity for us to talk about our CERT program, which is our Community Emergency Response Team. So, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, it is an honor to be up here to recognize our latest graduates of our CERT class. I'm joined by Natalie up here. Layton City is blessed with outstanding fire, EMS, and law enforcement services. In the event of a disaster, public safety personnel will be overwhelmed with response that's necessary within our community, and even through robust mutual aid that we have, because this no doubt would affect a lot of our neighbors as well. So that's where the concept of having trained community emergency response team members, or CERT members, bridges the gap. The CERT program educates volunteers about disaster preparedness for hazards that may impact the area and trains them in some basic disaster response skills, complex tasks. This is accomplished through 9 training modules, the last of which involves a simulated disaster in which CERT members now must put their training in action. And I know Natalie does a great job put that very realistic simulation in play. So Natalie is the coordinator she is our Layton Fire Public Education Specialist. She's led the CERT program for a number of years. We are really blessed to have her lead this program. She's been recognized by the state of Utah for involvement with CERT and another ancillary program called Fire Corps that provides fire and life safety education in our schools to thousands and thousands of school students every year, as well as providing major incident rehab services. So over the years, Layton City, through its volunteer instructors and fire department staff, have trained thousands of community members in the CERT program. So I'm going to read the instructor names, and I'm going to have them come join us up here as well, because we couldn't do this program without the volunteer instructors that we have. But I don't think they're all here, but I'll read their names. Brent Hafen, Mary Lee Hafen, Lisa Park, Jay Young Park, Michael Tholen, Floyd Gowans, and Carol Childers. So those are instructors that help put this class together. So we appreciate your folks doing this. Well,
Excuse me. Do you guys stand in there? Because, I mean, we want to make sure that we acknowledge all the graduates, but you need to shake their hands as well. So
yeah,
we
guys
want
shake
you to
their
be
hand
part
when
of
they
the
come up through
program.
here.
So
tonight we're going to recognize the latest graduates of the CERT program that are willing to volunteer and step up and serve in the community in the event of a disaster. So as I call your name, we'll have the graduates come forward and be recognized by the mayor and council members. We'll have you come around behind me here. I'm going to read all the names. They're not all here, but I'm just going to go ahead and read the names because we're not sure who all's attending. So Allison Adams, Amberly Carter, Blaine Nelson, Braden Carter, Camille Holt, Dave Winward, David George, Douglas Woodbury, Garth Gattrell, Jamie McGrath, Jeanette Barfus, Joshua Ward, Kishel Gold, Lemoy Adams, Matthew Elgren, Michael Christensen, Nancy George, Randy Johnson, Robert McGlory, Royce Larson, Shannon Wilkinson, Tara Broadbent, and Whitney Spencer. So congratulations and thank you for taking the time to go through this class and be willing to step up and serve within our community.
can we have the teachers come through? Come on, you got to come.
Come on through.
Come on. Thank you for taking the time. Yeah, thanks for your time for doing this. Thank you. It is, believe me. Thanks. Good job, Ken.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Appreciate you allowing us to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't think any of us can thank you guys enough for what you do in putting in the time and being prepared. Natalie, especially, I mean, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of coordinating. And as mentioned earlier, it isn't just this program, it's the other programs that you do on behalf of the city. So thank you. We appreciate all your hard work there, sir. Yes, go ahead.
I also wanted to say that Natalie is also a member of our Layton Communities That Care, and so I thank her double times for all that she does in the city, not just with the Fire Corps and with the CERT program, but also volunteering on other community boards. So thank you.
Yep, thanks. Okay, anyone else? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and move on then to our consent items. We have, excuse me. I'm so anxious to get going on stuff, but I failed to cover the most important one, which is our citizens' comments. So this is a time during our meeting that if anyone would like to address this governing body, you're more than welcome to. We ask you to come up, state your name at the mic, and go ahead and take the time that you need to express any concerns that are not on the public hearing. During the public hearing, we will allow comments. But if you have anything else that you'd like to comment, then please step forward at this time.
Madam Mayor, thank you, and members of the council, and also our youth mayor, too. First of all, I want to congratulate you for all your service. That is most excellent in doing that. My name is Justin Anderson. I live on Hobbs Creek Drive and 3025 North. I just wanted to speak to the meeting we had last time with the Goldcrest developer. I just wanted to say I appreciated the council in going through that. I felt that the developer actually talked down and was angry, and I just didn't appreciate the way he was towards you, and also dismissive of the residents' comments. So I appreciate that. I did have one question from last time, and that was concerning my house and what was proposed. My house would be completely surrounded by public access, and I did ask the question if there was any other single-family lot in Layton that had happened to. And so I would like an answer to that. I've kind of been looking myself. I have not seen that, and so one of the things I would request is, since this is a new development, and in some ways it's kind of like a blank canvas, and so there's an opportunity to be able to connect the trail in a way that it would not completely surround my property by public access. I do recognize that going off on the north side of that property, you'd have to drop off, and there may have to be some cutting into the toe, and that's not something I would recommend, but I think there is a way to mitigate that through having proper drains and doing like a ready block wall that doesn't cut into the toe but allows for structural fill to be brought in to bridge across the toe, and that way it would be able to hold the toe in place and key that in. But I also feel too, in the news, there's been a lot about what's happened in Draper, and it's 2 years, and it was in the news again that they still haven't been able to fix that slide area, and so it's been pretty disruptive to the neighborhood. And so I appreciate the thoroughness the council is taking in making sure that that doesn't happen here in our backyard. I also want to say, you know, I'm not a proponent of the PRUDs because I don't feel like it fits this area. But I also feel like there's concern from the council on the amount of lots that's being allowed, that the developer is utilizing every square inch of space to do their PRUD. And so in some ways, I think we are aligned in our concerns, and I would continue to ask to vote down the PRUD to something that is similar to the existing zoning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else?
Will Hobbs Creek Villas be brought up again in this meeting, or should I speak now?
Well, it will probably be tabled because we've had an update on it, and we'll deal with that when we get down here to our public hearing.
Okay. Don't worry about that.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay, seeing that, oh, go ahead.
I think Becky Anderson. I'm on Hobbs Creek Drive as well. I think it is important always to express gratitude, and I just wanted to say thank you to Councilmember Thomas for coming out in person and walking at length with us. It's been an interesting process. We've had our 17-year-old here because we want him actively involved in government. And I will say, just reiterating my place as a social worker, my 17-year-old was so disheartened by the behavior in the last meeting, and felt like that behavior was reinforced by the council. There was, from this very area, like comments saying, what do I have to do, pay for your college? And saying, I know my rights, you have to give me an answer, and then no answer. And I have this overwhelming feel when getting to know some of you, and that's been a pleasure, that you're bound in some way. But really, the question on the table is this. It's a rezoning question. And that, as a legislative body, that is your opportunity. This thing is fraught with concern. I don't know why we are bending over backwards for a developer that does not understand Layton, Utah. Does not understand it. I don't understand why we are not in keeping with Layton City's own statute. When I look at 19.08.130, it is interesting to me, and Clint will correct me on this thing, Clint. But on C, the proposed development creates no detriment to adjacent properties, nor to the general area in which it is located, and it will be in substantial harmony with the character of existing development in the area. Like, maybe I'm an idiot. I mean, some would say, yeah. But it doesn't even meet that. What are we talking about if it doesn't meet your own statute? E, that any variations allowed from the development standards and the underlying zoning district will not create increased hazards to the health, safety, or general welfare of the residents of the proposed PRUD, which we've talked about, or adjacent areas, which is the blanked out part underneath that we all live in. So I would just ask you to take a really hard look at your own statute and say to yourself, does it really meet, even in the prayer, Dave, you talked about having those statutes that guide. And I think we lose something really essential in Layton, Utah when we don't follow those. Anyway, I appreciate all that you've considered. This has had to be a big headache, but we appreciate you. We actually pray for you. So thank you, and thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you.
I guess I won't let that one stand.
Okay.
I'm here to speak for the 27 people who want to, Michael Christensen, thank you. I'm here to speak for the 27 families who want to live in that area. There's been a lot of concerns brought up at this pulpit and that pulpit. They all boil down to the fact that people just don't want new housing to go in there and don't want many people to move in. The fact of the matter is, Layton's a very expensive place to live and it's growing. The median house price in Layton is $517,000. And the median house price on 3025 is over $900,000. And if anyone on this bench thinks that part of your job description is to take the wealthiest people in Layton and make sure their property values go up, I hope you're not up for election this fall. It is completely within the reasonableness of engineering and economics to allow this development to go forward. Many of you got an email from me several weeks ago about how you could do something different than a PRUD to try and tie these things together legally and financially and make it a little bit more durable and a little bit more stable politically, I guess, moving forward. But yeah, I think we probably should add $30 million of wealthy taxpayers to help with our ramp tax that we're going to vote on here this fall to keep that up and running. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, Council, my name is Preston Miller. I live on 3221 Hobbs Creek Drive. And I would make some comments about what we just said. I am a renter. I am not rich. I am not somebody that has a lot of wealth, but I will tell you this. That development is not going to be just for any resident. I remember specifically saying that those lots were going to be between $800,000 to $1.2 million. I apologize if I come off strong, but that is absolutely ridiculous to say some stuff like that. This is not Layton City we're talking about. We're talking about one of the oldest settlements in Utah. And how dare someone say that we want more development to pay for renters' taxpayers? Like, that is ridiculous. This isn't just a development for any Joe Schmo. This is for those that are willing to pay and have multiple houses in their own, wealth. It doesn't fit the standard of the street south of the development. I mean, we're putting a trail right behind individuals to isolate their home. How fair is that to a resident that bought the home thinking, hey, look, I've invested in myself to put a home here, and now I have to be blindsided by development to put a trail and maybe a future parking lot straight north of their house. Like I said before in our last meeting, I'm a renter. I'm not going to live there. I'm not somebody that's, I'm set in stone. I'm not going to live there, right? But again, I'm a resident of Layton City, and that is not fair to the residents that have put so much time and effort to live there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Mayor, members of the City Council, thank you. My name is David Tensmeyer, and I live on 3025 also. And I have spoken previously about traffic concerns, which is not really the PRUD. I'm concerned about the PRUD, and it's not because of the property value of my house. I'm concerned for people that would buy these homes, and I know the area to not be completely stable. It's and the way it's being built, I expect some homes to go in there, but I don't expect 27. With chagrin, I'm a physician, and after the lockdowns and some other things that medical doctors do, they're kind of stupid. We're very educated, but I rise to not necessarily to criticize geotechnical experts, because I don't know geotechnical experts, but medicine and science are they're sciences of uncertainty and arts of probability. If you do cores and see if the ground is going to be okay for that, you're just doing a core of that spot. If you live in that area, you know what has happened to those homes. Draper's another example where the geotechnical said that it was fine, and there are 4 houses condemned there, I believe. 2 fell off the side of the mountain. And I just want to say that despite all the science behind geotechnical studies, like medicine, it's not perfect. And the experience there, I worry for the people buying those homes that invest in those areas, invest in those properties, that they will be stuck, just like a couple of members of our neighbors on that street have been hurt by that, damaged significantly. But I do want to express appreciation, as Becky said. We're grateful for all your time. I know it's been a ton of time, but thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Spencer. I live at 1176 North, 200 East. So I was actually asked to come here for this thing. I thought we were going to talk about it later, but it seems like everyone's talking about it, so I got up. But going off this last comment, so I'm an insurance agent for property and casualty insurance, and for the kind of land that it's on, that actually probably wouldn't pass for our underwriters. And so for the sake of people buying those houses, they wouldn't actually get proper home insurance for those homes, and they'd probably have clauses in their insurance that would either reduce their coverage on like mudslides, landslides, avalanches, that sort of thing, also earthquakes because it's so close to a fault. So if in the event that these houses did get taken out by such an event, their insurance probably wouldn't cover it, and then they'd probably be financially ruined for the rest of their lives. So that's just something to consider. And so then there'd be a huge legal battle between the city who let them build those houses, the builders, the homeowners, and it'd just be like, it'd be fairly problematic, I think, in the event that it happens, and it seems highly likely, which is why it wouldn't be covered by insurance or wouldn't pass through underwriting. So that was just like my initial reaction to it, like immediately when I heard about it. That's why because someone who was talking to me about it asked me to come and kind of share my thoughts on it as someone who's qualified to speak on that. So, I don't really have any skin in the game. I mean, I'm a taxpayer, so I might have to foot the bill later when these houses get destroyed. but I'm not as passionate about it as a lot of these people, but that's my kind of 2 cents for you guys to consider when making the decision. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing that there's none, let's go ahead and move on to our consent items then. So our consent items are, there's 5 of them here this evening that we'll hear all the information on, and then this council will be able to act upon all of those in one single motion. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn the time over to Mr. Jackson. He does have the first 3 items, so
Thank you,
Steve, go
Mayor
ahead.
and Council. It's good to be with you tonight. For your consideration, before you is a bid award to Morgan Industries doing business as Morgan Pavement Maintenance for our slurry seal project 2552. This resolution authorizes the execution of agreement between Layton City and Morgan Industries for the slurry seal project. It includes placement of type 2 and type 3 slurry seal. Let me get a map up there for you. The areas in the purple boxes are the different areas. Those are the sheets that we have in the drawings that are more detailed. 4 bids were received for the project. Morgan Pavement submitting the lowest responsible bid in the amount of $560,759 or $795.60. Our engineer's estimate was $660,999.76. I do want to point out that the estimate for the engineers was based on our previous pricing that we've had. These prices actually on all 3 of these projects are as low as we've had since 2022. So really excited about these. Staff recommends that the council adopt resolution 2533 and award the bid to Morgan Pavement and authorize city manager to execute the agreement for the slurry seal project 2552. Are there any questions I can answer on that one?
Any questions?
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Second one, bid award to asphalt preservation for our crack seal project 2553, resolution 2534 for your consideration. Again, another map of the crack seal areas that are being proposed to be completed. This resolution authorizes the execution of an agreement between Layton City and Asphalt Preservation for the crack seal project. 7 bids were received on this project, with Asphalt Preservation submitting the lowest responsive bid in the amount of $118,450. Again, the engineer's estimate was $152,952.80. Staff recommends council adopt resolution 2534 awarding the bid to Asphalt Preservation and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement for the crack seal project 2553. Any questions on that one?
Any questions? You're on a roll. Keep
All
going.
right, I'll just keep going. Before you for the third item, bid award to be C&B Striping, doing business as C&B Asphalt for the Mastic Seal project, we'll call it. It's High Density Roadway Surface Preservation Treatment, but that's an engineering label. We're just going to call it Mastic Seal for tonight. So, Resolution 2535. Various locations throughout the city. Again, here's a map of those areas. This resolution authorizes the execution of the agreement between Layton City and C&B Asphalt for the High Density Roadway Surface Preservation Treatment Project 2554. It includes installation of about 51,000 square yards of this mastic treatment. 2 bids were received, with C&B Asphalt submitting the lowest responsive bid in the amount of $97,400.56. Our engineer's estimate was $128,757.28. Staff recommends that the council adopt resolution 2535 awarding the bid to C&B Asphalt and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement for project 2554. Any questions I can answer on that one?
Questions?
Thanks, Mayor. Steve, a couple of questions. You've got different types of
fixes here. You've got slurry, you've got crack, and this mastic, I'm not sure what that is. But I remember that we've had in the past, I think it was Utah State.
Yeah, LTAP.
Yeah, are we, that would come into the city, or any city, and figure out how the roads are and give it a score, and
yeah.
Are we, so 2 questions, is that something that's going to happen again soon or not? I don't know. And then maybe what this mastic seal process is?
Yeah.
So, thanks.
Yeah, we actually have had LTAP complete a study, and we've been working with them to get that finalized to actually present back to you where we're at with the last review of all of these roadways as we move forward. There's been some legislation we've been watching on potential fee changes and things that cities are doing to help preserve their roads, but part of that's not part of what the study was, but we do have some of that to bring back to you when the time is right. We'll get with Alex and get that on the schedule. The mastic seal is actually very similar to the slurry seals that you've seen out there, but it doesn't have as much aggregate in it. It's for newer roads, so most of these that you see are in new pavement areas where we put down like an overlay or a reconstruct, and then we use this mastic to actually help preserve that newer pavement to keep it from falling down into those lower service life categories that we've talked about in the past. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll go on to item number D here, and Mr. Weston Apolloni will present this. This is an annexation request, and he also has the next item, so we get to stay at the podium as well.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is a proposal to annex 58.27 acres located approximately at 2073 West Gentile. The petitioner is Sean Anthe with Destination Homes. This is a petition to certify, a certification of the petition, Resolution 2524. On May 1st, 2025, the City Council adopted Resolution 2523, accepting the petition for annexation. The proposed area for annexation, shown here on this map, is identified. This is Gentile Street here and 2200. The purpose of the annexation petition is to begin the process to subdivide the property for a planned single-family residential development. Following the adoption of this resolution, staff will initiate the necessary annexation procedures as outlined by state law. Staff recommends the City Council adopt Resolution 2524, certifying the petition for annexation and directing staff to initiate the necessary process. Any questions on this one?
Okay. Any questions, Council? I know we had this presented last time for the zone, but you asked a lot then, so I think we're probably good.
Next item before you tonight is Resolution 2536 for the appointments of the Layton City Planning Commission. The city has received a number of applications for the service of the commission. The applicants were interviewed. Let me pull off this. Thank you. The applicants were interviewed by the committee made up of the mayor, the current planning commission chair, and staff. Based on the interviews and applications, the mayor's recommendation is to appoint Zach Heslop and Chase Freebaron as alternate members of the commission, and Brett Nilsson and Peter McDonough, who are currently the alternates, as regular members of the commission. Mayor Petro recommends the council adopt Resolution 2536, confirming the appointments of Zach Heslop and Chase Freebaron as alternate members of the Layton City Planning Commission, and appoint Brett Nilsson and Peter McDonough as regular members of the Layton City Planning Commission. Can I answer any questions on that?
Any questions? Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our consent items as far as the presentation here. So now I'll bring it back to the council to take action. So council, whoever makes a motion, if you could just go ahead and reemphasize what the resolution number is.
I'll do that, Mayor. Mayor, I'd make a motion that we adopt Resolution 25-23 for Project 25-52. Resolution 25-34 for Project 25-53. Resolution 25-35 for Project 25-54. As well, Resolution 25-24 and Resolution 25-36.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Once again, we can take this on a single vote. So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. They all pass. We'll now go on to our public hearing portion of our meeting, and we have 3 items here, and I believe, actually we have 4. However, what I'd like to do, if it's okay with the council at this time, I think what I'd like to do is deal with item number C first, and then come back to A, B, and D. So, Council, I know we've had an update here regarding the rezone request on the Hobbs Creek Villas, and there's been a request to table that to a date uncertain. So I think knowing that, I would look for action here on this council, if you could, to acknowledge that and then perhaps close that public hearing, and then the date, whenever to be determined, we could at that time choose to reopen it or not. So with that, would one of the council members like to make that motion?
Madam Mayor, might I ask for some counsel on that before?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, Clint Drake,
Yes.
would you maybe give a little bit of background on this, and then also give some clarity on how that motion should be made for a time uncertain? Or is that just how it needs to be?
Yeah, it can be like that. Just for a little bit of background, the applicant reached out to the staff and indicated that they had taken the comments from the council and from the public and wanted to make some adjustments to their application. They didn't feel like they could give it the proper time necessary to be on the next council meeting, so at the applicant's request, they've asked that it be tabled to a date uncertain. I believe that they are trying to get it as quickly as possible, so it could be as soon as next meeting. We would obviously publicly notice that as required by law. Anytime it would resurface, but that would be at the request of the applicant. As far as the motion goes, yeah, you're fine to go ahead and just table it. I would even clarify to say table it to a date uncertain per the applicant's request. And yeah, you can close the public hearing as well. As I mentioned a couple of meetings ago, you've met your obligation. We've more than met our obligation regarding the public hearings, both in Planning Commission and your City Council meetings. Closing the public hearing does not limit you to take public comment if you so decide. That's at your discretion.
Thank you. So, do you have a question?
You have a question?
Yeah, question
Sure, go ahead.
for Clint. So we mentioned during one of the public hearings that if we had denied the rezone request, then it would be a year
Correct.
before they could reapply.
Correct.
Is there any time frame for this date uncertain? How long could that go?
No, I generally advise our council or planning commission, our public bodies, that we should, when we do motion, that we do it to a date certain, but that's for certainty for the applicant. In this case, where the applicant is the one requesting, you have a lot more flexibility. It's really up to them. Where they've requested it, they could honestly take as much time as they'd like. There are some constraints if it gets too long, but they certainly could take weeks or even months to come up with a plan or an adjustment, whatever they would like to do to present that to the council.
So no more than a year?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Wait, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I'll look for some action then.
Thank you, Mayor. So I will make a motion, or I move to close the public hearing on the rezone request for the Hobbs Creek Villas, PRUD, and table this item to a date uncertain per the applicant's request.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Since this is a public hearing, I'll go ahead and do a roll call vote on this. I'll start with Councilmember Thomas. What?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Smith Edmondson.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Bloxham.
Yes.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll now go on to our other public hearing items that we have here tonight, and Mr. Longcrawl is going to go ahead and present item number A, which is an approval of a conveyance of 2 significant parcels. So, Mr. Crowell.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight we have, as mentioned, resolution number 2505, and that's a request to convey property, 2 parcels of significant property that's owned by the city to the redevelopment agency. The properties are located on the north end of Fairfield Road. Years ago, the city entered an option agreement with Wasatch Integrated Waste Management to purchase those properties, have a first right of refusal. Approximately a year ago, in January, the city executed that option agreement and purchased the property. The main reasons for that purchase were to guarantee the extension of Fairfield Road where we would like it and its infrastructure and utilities, and to ensure that an aerospace and defense company employer that supports the base would locate in in those properties, and to provide family-sustaining career options in Layton City. This conveyance will help make that happen. The city is able to convey property according to Utah Code and our municipal code. There are requirements which required notice, which has been completed. It requires an agreement, which is attached to this resolution, and it requires a public hearing, which we are having right now. As mentioned, there is a notice that's been provided as required, and with that, staff recommends the City Council adopt Resolution 2505 that approves the conveyance of 2 parcels of significant property, had that backwards, 2 significant parcels of real property, from Layton City Corporation to the Redevelopment Agency of Layton City, and authorize the mayor to execute the warranty deeds, the purchase agreement, and any other documents necessary to complete the transaction. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Council, do you have any questions on this? Okay, if not, we can do one of 2 things at this point. If we want to open our public hearing, we can, which I think we should, in case anyone would like to speak to this particular item. Otherwise, we can go ahead and let Mr. Crowell present item B if we'd like. So I'm giving you an option, kind of mixing it up for you. What's that? Well, yeah, Morgan's doing the next one. But do you want to open up the public hearing?
Madam Mayor, I move that we open the public hearing. That's it.
All right, that works. Okay. Who's going to second this one?
I am. Second.
All right, thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, our public hearing is now open. Let's go ahead and see if there's any comments regarding item number A first. Okay, being that there's none, we'll now go ahead and go back to item number B then. And Mr. Morgan Cloward's going to present this item to us, which is an adoption of the community block grant.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's time to take a look at Layton City's CDBG 5-year consolidated plan and annual action plan. The plan covers program year July 1st, 2025 through June the 30th, 2026. And the plan outlines how the city will allocate the allotment from HUD with these CDBG funds. In the plan, you can see that we have various amounts slotted for activities that will start July 1st of this year. The first I just wanted to point out quickly was home buyer assistance. We plan to assist 8 households with that, and also a fair amount of money that we'd like to set aside for the city's critical home repair rehab program. We've been partnering with Habitat for Humanity, and we've been able to help a few homes during this program year with replacing windows and water heaters, furnaces, plumbing, driveways, roof repair. It's been a wonderful program, and we have several homes that have applied that need quite a bit of help. So that's why we have a pretty good chunk of money for that. And then the remaining section is our valued public service partners, including Open Doors, Safe Harbor, Lantern House, and Youth Court. So with that in mind, staff recommends that the council adopt Resolution 2527, adopting the CDBG Consolidated Plan for 2025 through 2029, and the Annual Action Plan for 2025 through 2026.
Okay. Is there any questions, council?
I don't have a question, but I did comment earlier about another item we're going to see, but I wanted to say that the package that was put together for this was very extensive, but another very well done product document. It was a lot of work that was put in. And I know it's something that you have to do, for the state, but that was a lot of work. And so I appreciate all the work that you guys did to provide that information to us so we know where these funds are going and all of the research that goes into why we are supporting the different programs that we support. So thanks, Morgan.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Okay.
Madam Mayor, may I?
Sure, go ahead.
Morgan, thanks again for all your work in this area. My question is, we've had a preliminary public hearing a while ago.
Yeah.
Part of this was presented.
Uh-huh.
We have this one. This is the last one. This is just so that we all are all on the same page. This
Correct.
is it. So, okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, any other questions for right now? Okay. Thank you, Morgan.
Thank
we
you.
Appreciate it. Any public comment on this? Okay, seeing that there's none, let's go ahead and go on to item number D, which is a general plan amendment here. And we've got Whitney Black that's going to be presenting this item to us.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me get to those slides. There we go. So this is a general plan amendment before you. It has two resolutions, 25-30, which is the adoption of the station area plan, and resolution 2531, which is deeming the area of Layton City that is in the Clearfield station area impracticable for a station area plan. Just a little background, in 2022, the state legislature adopted House Bill 462, which requires cities with a fixed guideway public transit station to develop and adopt a station area plan on or before December 31st of 2025. Because Layton City is home to a front runner station, we are one of the cities that are required to create one of these plans. A station area plan is a planning document that plans for the growth and development of a station area. A station area is defined as 1/2 mile radius extending from the center of the front runner platform. This graphic illustrates what that looks like for Layton City. The dotted line is the 1/2 mile radius, and the darker parcels are the properties within the station area. The purpose of the station area plan is to increase the availability and affordability of housing. This includes moderate income housing, promote sustainable environmental conditions, enhance access to opportunities, and increase transportation choices and connections. For the past 20 years, Layton City has been doing these things all throughout the city, but especially in the downtown area, which is now considered the station area. We've done several different initiatives. One was the downtown plan, which included a lot of rezoning initiatives to MU and MUTOD, which is transit-oriented development. Envision Layton, which was the general plan envisioning process, the transportation master plan, and the Layton Forward general plan, and the Layton active transportation plan. All of these are the foundation of the station area plan. We've just consolidated their policies into one document for the state. During this process, we reached out to the community in several different ways to get them involved and to educate them on what we were doing. We developed a website with FFKR's help. They were our consultants on this project. They created a website that explained the different things, what a station area plan is, why we need one, what it encompasses, how it will work with the general plan. And on that website, people could sign up to get more information about when these meetings would happen. We also went to Layton Fest and set up a booth to talk to people that wanted to learn more about the history of Layton's rail systems and what the plan would entail. And we listened to what ideas they had for the station area and what they would like to see when it comes to transportation. We set up a booth at the Front Runner station and talked to the different people on the buses that came off of the Front Runner and things like that. And we've been working with UTA and UDOT through this process to make sure we're meeting their expectations. Part of the plan, we are required to identify the development constraints and development opportunities within the station area. Some constraints include just the physical barriers and infrastructure. There's major roadways like I-15, Layton Parkway, and Main Street that can hinder development but are necessary. There's other things like the railway and the creek. Other things, there's just minimal vacant area. A lot of the downtown is already developed, and what's left are these unique parcels that are challenging to develop. Some development opportunities include different infrastructure projects like a pedestrian bridge across the railway to the west, some infill development and potential for a shared parking structure. Other smaller scale opportunities include ADUs and maybe some smaller subdivisions that individual property owners can choose to do. This map identifies those areas of opportunities and constraints, and this matches what is in the general plan currently. One area that we want to point out is the green indicates single-family residential neighborhoods that are established. We don't anticipate any change happening there, so they are labeled as areas of stability. We've identified 6 goals for the station area plan. The first 4 are the objectives outlined in state law, and the next 2 are to implement the active transportation plan and to incorporate the Layton forward general plan so that all the plans are cohesive and they all work towards the same things. To accomplish those 6 goals, we have 8 main strategies, and we've come up with some suggested action items for each of those strategies. We've identified the top 10 action items that we would like to work towards for the next 5 years, and the top 10 we'd like to work towards in the next 10 years. Part of Layton, a very small part of Layton, is in the Clearfield Station Area Plan, so we do have to make a plan for this area or deem it impracticable for a station area plan. So it's just over an acre, it's already developed, so staff is recommending that this area be deemed impracticable for a station area plan. This plan has gone to the Planning Commission. They are recommending approval, and staff is supporting their recommendation. Is there any questions?
Okay, Council, do you have any questions on this? Councilor Morris?
Yeah. First of all, the bill that you talked about that was passed, Layton City was already ahead of that. I remember them celebrating Farmington a little while ago as the first in the state, but yet we were already working on that. So I applaud the efforts of the staff and city councils and the planning commissions in the past for looking ahead and taking advantage of the fact that we have that front runner station and what the vision that could happen around it. One of my questions is, I didn't get a chance to ask you in the work meeting. You used the different plans as some of the basis for this plan, and we had the Layton Active Transportation Plan that was presented a few meetings ago, and one of the questions from one of the council members was, are we codifying that, or are we saying and the answer was, we got some federal grant, some federal money, and therefore we had to accept the plan, not adopt something, but accept the plan as proof of performance for the grant. Is, with us doing something on this tonight, this is a general plan amendment, would that codify the Layton Active Transportation Plan by us possibly passing this general plan amendment? That's my question.
No, they're separate plans. This is a specific plan required by the state. It will go to Wasatch Front Regional Council, and they will certify the plan. But no, we wouldn't change any approvals to the Layton Active Transportation Plan.
Good question. Any other questions? Okay, no other questions? Okay, yeah, thank you very much again for all your hard work on that as well. Okay, council, that's all of the items presented. However, is anyone in the audience wish to speak to item number D, the general plan amendment? Okay, state your name, please.
Can we get the slides back up? I'd like to see the one labeled 29 at the bottom, the one right before this, I think. Right before that. Okay. This didn't come up in the work meeting back there, but it did come up in the work meeting for the Planning Commission when this came through about 6 weeks ago. I think it was item number 3 there was a mention of a crosswalk to be installed across Main Street. And one of the commissioners mentioned, so you're going to put a hawk sign in there. And the comment from city planners was, no, we're actually going to put in a red, green, yellow crosswalk sign there. And I was quite thrilled by that. I live in a part of West Layton that I call Death Valley. I don't know if any of you are familiar with 2200 West. As you're coming north from Gordon Avenue, you approach a hill, and at the bottom of that hill is the rail trail. And then up another hill where cars coming from neither direction can actually see the people, is a very dangerous crossing for that section. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I don't know how many people died to make this happen, but they put in a hawk sign button to put on the flashing yellow lights. And of course, the motorists decide what a flashing yellow light means or what a flashing red light means, because nobody in Utah actually knows what those mean. And I, as a common driver in that area, I can tell you that the pedestrians don't even stop to use it. About 30% of the time I drive down that intersection, about 2/3 of the people who are actually crossing there, I'll actually see them stop and push the button. Now, that's anecdotal. I don't spend my whole life driving up and down that road, but I do live less than half a mile away, so I'm there quite a bit. And I noticed down in Salt Lake City, I went to visit some family down in Sandy area, and there's a crosswalk for their rail trail on 106 South, and I noted that they had a red, green, yellow pedestrian signal at that location, just like is planned here. I thought, wow, that'd be great to put at Death Valley, because pedestrians pay attention when they know the cross traffic has a green light. They will stop and push the button rather than put their lives in their own hands, as many cyclists do, not wanting to lose any momentum to save a life. And so I applaud the use of a red, green, yellow signal there, and I applaud and I encourage the council to never put another hawk sign in the city anywhere. We can't afford to be having young motorists and motorists from out of town trying to decide what a flashing yellow light means, what a flashing red light means, and motivate the pedestrians to actually use those facilities by deliberately not giving them the right of way unless they ask for it. I guess also this map here speaks to my other topic I wanted to bring up here, and I remain disappointed when the development of the Tennis Academy of Utah came through here a couple months ago, and this board approved a bunch of 1,200 square foot patio homes to deed restricted to senior citizens to go in just barely outside that circle on Gentile Avenue. Incredibly short-sighted to make this plan stop at a wall 2,500 feet away. You could do better.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, seeing that there's none, council, I'll bring the action back to you to close our public hearing, and then we will vote on each one of these things, or each one of these items individually.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question?
Absolutely.
And this is probably for Whitney. In regards to Mr. Christensen's last question, this area, the half-a-mile radius area, isn't this something that is required by state statute, not something that Layton City decided to put together? Aren't we required to do this by the state?
Correct. The state required us to create a station area plan for a half-mile radius around the front runner platform.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. And also, the slide that he was talking about was the one prior to this, not the 10-year slide. It was the 5-year slide that had that signalized item on number 3. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify that this is something that the state required us to do, and they are the ones who put those parameters around the radius in which we have to prepare this very lovely plan that you've put together. But the reason that the limits are the way they are is because the state has required us to do this. And I, again, appreciate the history in this plan identifying that as far back as 2007 that Layton City was already looking at things like this before the state required it. And so even though the state has put other parameters around it and we've had to piece things together and fill in certain blanks that are holes that they have requested us to do, that this is something that the city was already looking at, trying to make sure that the area where our transit is an area that is more walkable, more conducive to folks who are utilizing transit, not just people who have to, but also people who choose to, which, as Councilmember Bloxham will note, that is not everyone in the city who does choose to use public transit, but there are those who do, as well as those who have to. So thanks for responding to that, Whitney. With that, I will close the public hearing on all of the items and move that we approve item A, which is the conveyance of 2 parcels, resolution 25-05, adopt item B, which is the CDBG.
Hold on.
Yes.
We want to just do one item. So thank you
sorry
for
about
closing
that.
the public
Thank you.
hearing, and then you'll stop at A. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so do I have a second on closing our public hearing? And okay, thank you very much. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and take action then on just item number A. And again, I'll do a roll call vote. I'll start down here with Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Bloxham? Yes. Councilmember Morris?
I'd just like to, before I vote, applaud those involved way back when and with the Eastgate Business Park and this area. There may have been someone here that was part of that, and I appreciate the wisdom and the vision of what that could be, and it's turning into what it should be. And then even this council and being patient with that area and not it needs to be the business park, and we're seeing the fruits of that. So with that, I vote aye.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Smith Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas?
Aye.
Okay, item A passes unanimously. Let's go on to item number B. Would someone like to make a motion on that?
Sure. Item B, I'd make a motion that we adopt Resolution 25-27.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Once again, I'll do a roll call vote. I'll start out with Councilmember Bloxham.
Yes.
Councilmember Morris.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith Edmondson.
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas.
Aye.
And Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Okay, there you have it. Item number B passes unanimously. We'll now go on to item number D, the general plan amendment. Who would like to make the recommendation on that or the motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve resolutions 25-30 and 25-31.
Okay, it's been moved in second that we adopt item D, the general plan amendment. Once again, I'll do a roll call vote. I'll mix it up this time. I'll start out with Councilmember Morris.
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Roberts.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith Edmondson.
Aye.
And Councilmember Bloxham. Okay, there you have it. That passes unanimously. That also concludes our public hearing at this time. And we're down to unfinished business. I know that we do have one more item to discuss in our closed-door meeting, so I'd look for a motion to close this regularly scheduled city council meeting and go back into a closed-door meeting.
So just one clarification. We wouldn't close the meeting because you have to have the meeting open still while you have a
That's
closed
true.
meeting.
Sorry. Thank you. Glad you're on your toes. Okay, so with that, council.
Can I close the meeting?
No.
Just motion to move into closed session.
I motion to move into closed door session.
Okay, thank you.
I get it.
I'll acknowledge, I think I just have to acknowledge it, so thank you very much. With that, I just want to thank everyone for attending our meeting tonight, and again, we, sorry, I'm not sure what's going on out there, but again, I want to also thank everyone on our emergency preparedness folks that were willing to come in and take the class, quite honestly. So with that, is there something more that we need to worry about there, Council? We're good? Okay. With that, then, we adjourn for tonight, and be safe going home. Thank you.